What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to a special video. A lot of people have been asking for an update on my Dark Knight diary. So basically, this is how I progress my character, what kind of stuff I use. It's going to be a pretty long-winded video on basically everything as a Dark Knight that I use. Hopefully you guys can learn some of this, but I'm pretty hesitant to call it a guide or anything. It's just what I use, and I'll explain why I use it. But yeah, a lot of stuff has been going on lately, and I wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support on the videos, everything, all the follows, subs. You guys are awesome. I just wanted to say thank you before we get into anything. And yeah, so every now and then, I like to update these diary videos just because skills change, they do some balance, new tweaks happen, I make some upgrades, and obviously the last time I did it was about maybe last year, and a lot of stuff has changed back then. So what we're going to be covering are the gear, artifacts, add-ons for both PvP and PvE, crystals, everything that's relevant, I guess. So let's start off with the gear, and then we'll go off into the add-ons. So ever since Labresca Helm has come, we worked hard to grind for that, and we made some changes in terms of a Kudum. We no longer have a Kudum, we have a Pen Black Star, and I was really lucky to get that because back when I was getting a Black Star, it was more like which one gets listed first, and I'll try to order that one. I ended up winning the Black Star, which I'm not upset with. And in the near future, they're going to be coming out with the God Eye weapon, which is basically a Pen Black Star with extra steps. And will I be going for that? I don't know, actually, because I'm kind of stubborn and I just want to get a pen without going through the extra steps. I'm gonna keep crawling these clicks until I get it, and I don't know, it really depends. So anyway, what you guys are probably interested in seeing with all this is all the relevant stuff. So first of all, we'll be going over the crystals because that's a pretty important thing for everyone, I guess. So if we take a look at it, I'm pretty much just using the standard setup, but keep in mind before I do anything, my builds and skill add-ons are more tailored towards PvP because I enjoy doing RBF, Node Wars, and, just your open world PvP, duel for spots, whatever. So that's why my things are tailored towards that, but we do have a PvP and PvE setup. So ultimately, at some point in the game, when you think your AP is high enough, you can start sacrificing AP for more accuracy or more defensive stats. So this is where I'm at. And keep in mind, my build is definitely not the highest it could be. I have a lot of upgrades to go. This is just where I'm at. So yeah, I use L cards in my main hand. That's pretty standard across the board for every class. Both my Kudum and Nuver both have corrupted crystals. It's just most damage output, even if you take more damage, but that's just Dark Knight in a nutshell. So Silent Fallen God, which is the armor. We have Jinn special evasions. If you don't have Jinns, just get the regular ones or literally any other special evasion crystal. This is the one thing I'm actually scared of. This Jinn special evasions is not the cost that's the issue. It's if I lose them by dying to something, it's gonna take me months to probably get it back because it's hard to get. So that's why I was literally thinking of just tagging a character and then just so I could have the Jinn crystals on the tagged one, and if I lose that, it's not a big deal. All the other crystals I can get back, it's not a problem. But just the armor ones are the little scary part, and I'm willing to spend little billions to keep them. Jinn Vipers, across the board standard for most classes. I've seen people swap them out for the damage, human damage crystals, but that one's very specific and it's like very PvP tailored, but I like to just use Vipers across the board. And shoes and helmets are the ones that we kind of swap out every now and then. So shoes, I like the adamantines because they are basically resistances, and for the longest time I always thought resistances were a meme, and sometimes I still feel like that, but ultimately I do notice a difference when it comes to like PvE and PvP, more or less. So I just like having the crystals in there. And helmet, definitely PvP crystals. If you don't want, or you don't like PvP at all, just use Hooms here and use Hooms in your offhand. And if you don't, you could put them in your shoes. That's just the options as you have as well. Vediant, we have PvP crystals. I really wish you could have a preset. And one thing I wish that they could change, it would just be like the nicest thing. So you know how these Alukas, or the glorious crystals, they go into your awakening weapon? I wish you would put them in your sub weapon, because that would make a lot more sense for literally every class. Like PvP is Nuver, and then PvE is the Kudum one. So you'd put the PvE crystals in your the Kudum. So unfortunately it's awakening and it's very expensive to swap out, so that's why I don't swap them out. And yeah, so that's the thing. So ultimately though, that's why I have them there. And yeah, that's my crystal setup for the most part. And the only thing I use right now is I have a cron food on, because that's the bare minimum you guys should have as well. And if you're doing any sort of content. So obviously you'd have more buffs running, whether you're PvPing or PvEing, but this is the bare minimum you guys should have going on. So this is my set effect rate, or not set effect, stats right now. 866 accuracy. That's with magic AP artifacts, but we'll get into that in a second. And yeah, my goals right now are basically going for a Pen Black Star, which we'll get soon TM, and then after that is Pen Tungrads, and then I don't know, whatever comes out. It's been a hard decision for me. It's either keep the distos, go double Narcs, or go double Dawns, but I have no idea. It's one of those, I have to pick one. I can't buy them all because that's expensive. But anyway, next we have on our list is artifacts, and I'm just going to show you this now because this is something that is a hot topic, as well as it's something I can't really recommend for you because everyone has a different playstyle, and artifacts and lightstones obviously come from your availability of what you have and don't have. But here's what I use. Let's just show you my drop down list right now. So we have the magic AP ones. Keep in mind, I use the aerial crystals because I can't get the strike crystal. So just don't freak out. It's temporary. And then so we have 2 magic AP and then 2 accuracy. I swap between these pretty frequently, and I guess it just really depends. When I'm grinding, I use something like more or less different because I'm also trying to push 64 at the moment. So in terms of artifacts, let's look at the lightstones on the market for a second, and I want to show you what I would have. So realistically, it's probably easier to actually get a frenzy crystal, which would give you special attack damage, and that's not bad either. But if you don't want to, my main goal would be to get a strike crystal because it gives you extra crit damage. Now, the difference between the frenzy and the strike, besides the price tag, is basically the frenzy gives you special attack, which is basically if you can CC back attack, down attack, all those kind of special non-base tank trades, it's good. And then strike is critical damage. So if you are like super armor trading through blocks and guards, you will do a little bit more damage. So my play style, I don't know. I think I would just go for strikes a little bit more than a frenzy, but both of them are pretty good. So it really depends on how well you do. Like if you can do those special attacks, then frenzies are probably better. But as of right now, all the good lightstones are basically sold out. So whichever one I get first, we're getting first. So anyway, with that said, that's why I use the aerial crystals, because you do have some air attacks. They're just not the really relevant ones. So it's just a placeholder for now. But yeah. So back to the artifacts. This is what I use: 2 magic AP and 2 magic accuracy. I kind of like both of them, but it really just is situational. Fighting more evasion players, and accuracy is obviously the way to go. And as for the effects, they're both the same. Temporary, air attack, placeholder. We'll change it in the future. This one is for PvE and XP. So as you guys know, I'm pushing level 64 in the future. And so basically, here's what it is. It is 2 monster extra AP against monsters, and basically it's just monster damage, more or less. And then the combination of an extra 400% combat XP. Yeah, it's one of those things I use just to level up. That's it. And then sometimes if I'm feeling like I want to be more tanky than I am, I have the HP and DR artifacts. Now, originally I wanted to do this with the all DR artifact, which is item drop. Where is it? I'll show you what it is. You can get it from Kadri. So basically it's the all damage reduction artifact. And trust me when I say I spent a lot of hours here and still have not gotten it, but the game has given me 3 all evasion ones instead of the DR ones. So I'm just like, well, I guess we're not using that because we can't get it. So yeah, I have HP and DR, basically to all just straight up damage reduction and an extra 30. Believe it or not, I feel a little bit tankier with it. It's not offensive, so I don't really use it as often, but it's what I use and it's fine. I don't really use it often, but just every now and then. But ultimately, between the ones I swap between are magic AP and accuracy. And yeah, believe it or not, 16 accuracy. Pretty good. So ultimately, if you have one or the other, they're both fine. Just having choice is nice. And then the rest of these are life skills like gathering, cooking, alchemy. So yeah, I think a lot of these are very situational. Monster damage reduction, I don't think you need it. It's kind of weird in an artifact in general. Like, it's probably not going to help you at high-end spots like Olin or Crypt of Resting Thoughts. Like, well, it's one of those you just have to get good kind of things. So yeah, that's what I use. I have more artifacts, but that's what I use in general. All right, let's get into the good old add-ons. So right now, what I have is PvP, or I think this one is... Okay, so this one is PvE add-ons. Now, in the recent patch, they buffed Cluster of Despair and Soul Snatch. And this one, once again, PvE. And I'll show you my PvP stuff as well. So lately I've been playing a lot of Awakening, and I do have Succession, but so you see you can actually rename these. Look at the top, like tag, you can actually rename them. So this one is the PvE setup. I have Corrupt Ground, mostly for the extra 30 AP against monsters for 7 seconds, and same with the Cluster of Despair for extra AP, which is basically permanent uptime if you know how to use it properly, and that's good. So you do have to keep that in mind a little bit. I wish there was a little, like, the add-ons had like a little buff bar for that, but it doesn't. So I like the extra DP plus 20 just in case I'm grinding places like Gyfin or Olin's every now and then. So the extra DP, honestly, at Olin's, it doesn't even matter. If you're grinding super high-end spots, this DP is not helping you. But it's just a little bit of extra protection. Like, if I'm at Gyfin, I could take that one extra hit without feeling like I'm in danger. So that's what it's for. But mostly Corrupt Ground. I don't use it for the damage. It's just, or like the skill itself. I use it for the 30 extra AP against monsters, and then DP is just nice. Spirit Legacy, attack speed, just makes you do things faster. Crit damage, always nice. Shattering Darkness, movement speed and crit damage. And then Trap of Vidir, just more crits. And so you open with this one, and then you can do these later to keep your crits up and do more. So Soul Snatch and Cluster of Despair is something I changed recently because of the update, and I wanted to play around with it more. So basically, Soul Snatch and Cluster, they have crit on it now, which makes it a lot easier. So I've been doing a little bit of testing, just off recording, doing my hours of grind in Marnie's Realm. And I do notice it. It feels good. And basically the way it works, let's just go somewhere. How do I don't know how you could show you it. You might just have to watch a video in the future. Basically, the way this would work is, let's say you do anything in Awakening. Doesn't matter what. So let's say you do Grip of Grudge now, which is also something they buffed recently. Grip of Grudge, I use it more often to like pull enemies together. Hold up, let me actually turn up the... I usually keep my FX on low because I just here. So anyway, this is what Grip of Grudge looks like. I use it to pull enemies in. They reduced the timer from 10 to 6 seconds now on this one. So it's not really for the damage. It's more to pull the enemies together, or at least have aggro on you so they group up quicker. So that's what it's for. And then after you do that, so I usually open with a Trap of Vidir to get the crit rate and damage on. So then like that, and then you Soul Snatch to pull everything in as well. And then after that, you could, you know, do your standard combo, which would be like that, and then that, and then Cluster, which is something that I use more. They actually made it a lot easier to use Cluster of Despair now. So basically before, the way it worked was it was left mouse, right mouse, and that activated it. Nowadays, it's just right mouse as a flow into other things. So basically, the way it worked before, I would use like a Nebula and then that, and then just combo it with that. So I still use that combo, and then that's just the combo. So if you look at this, it's more or less the order of how I do things. That's just kind of how I lined it up, minus the Corrupt Ground. I just like seeing the timer go off for that one because I want to keep the PvE up. So yeah, once again, combo for PvE, depending on like where you grind, would be like this, pull, 2, oh, that was the 100, Nebula into Cluster, and then your combo into that, and by that, that's basically your PvE rotation. And then if you feel like you need another Grip of Grudge at the end, and then I kind of use, I'm trying to incorporate the Spirit Blaze into my rotation more. It's not really for the damage. I still think it kind of sucks, to be honest, but it's one of those things where you use when all the other cooldowns or all your other skills on cooldown. And honestly, it takes so long for this one. Like, here's how you do it originally. You do Spirit Blaze into the flow, which I hate how you have to have a core, which is like, one of these is 6, and I only see people using one of the two. You're either using Shattering Darkness core for the stiffen, or you're using Seed of Catastrophe for the super armor. I personally like the super armor and the protected play a little bit more. And that means I can't have the forward guard on Spirit Blaze. And I think Spirit Blaze is a very slow skill that's unprotected that you can't really use in PvP at all. Because let's say, okay, so here's how you do it. Well, you're going to see 2 animations when you swing your sword twice. So this one, that's the first one, and that's the flow. You saw how slow that is? Guess what's happening when you hit someone with it? Most likely, if they're walking towards you, they're already in some sort of protected skill. If you're playing against a grab class, you know what's going to happen? They're just going to grab you right through that. And especially with desync and all that stuff in this game, they're just going to grab you right through that, and you're dead. So I wish instead of the core for Spirit Blaze, it was just a straight forward guard, and it was just built into the skill. So it's very hard for me to recommend using this one in PvP. It's one of those things that you just kind of have to use at the end of your combo in PvP, or not PvP, PvE only. That's the only time I use it, unless the enemy is already down and you know you can safely use it. But other than that, like if I'm going to use it anywhere else, I really just have it hotkeyed because I want to skip the straight up first Spirit Blaze, and even then it's situational, so I have it hotkeyed and it goes straight to the second one. So that's why I have it. Everything else, this is the LBO one. I grind orcs every now and then. Nocturne. You have to, in Awakening specifically, you use Nocturne instead of like flowing it with something, because that's the only way. I still think that Spirit Legacy is it's an okay ability to have Hotbard. And Awaken or main hand weapons, these are just kind of there. I still use them every now and then, but mostly the one I use in main hand is the Corrupt Ground, because we have the add-on for that for PvE. And then, yeah, that's about it. So in terms of skill points for Awakening, I have everything maxed out with this is how many I have left over. So you don't actually need like 2,700 skill points to play Awakening Dark Knight. It just, 2,700 is to have everything maxed out. And I know some people have like level 1 of certain skills just because I think it's like less cost or whatever, or it's like faster. I don't really know. I just maxed everything out, but I know some people leave certain skills at level 1 even though they could max it out just because it helps with something. So in terms of add-ons, you guys can see that this is PvE one. So if you want to take a screenshot, I'll let you guys take a screenshot. 3, 2, 1. All right, so here are the Raboms I have. Now, keep in mind, these Raboms are something personal, and I think in the future, 1 or 2 weeks from whenever this video is released, they're actually buffing Raboms for all the classes across the board. And they probably have some, I don't really know what the changes are. I just know they're buffing the Rabom skills. And when I read it, it was on the Global Labs, which isn't in English. So it was like, I looked at it by the skill picture, and that's how I kind of more or less can pick out keywords of like what the skill name is, but I know they're buffing it. So to give you an idea of how I use all these skills and why I pick them. So a general thing is I pick the skills based on, do they have protection on it? And if so, then I use it. Now I used Shadow Strike because I use it for PvE, and let's say an enemy is over there, I could just like pull an enemy with like this thingy and the Shift X. So Shadow Strike and where is that ability? Obsidian Ashes. I use them to pull enemies from a range and help group them up together, so that helps with PvE a little bit. But other than that, we don't use it for damage. It's just to pull enemies in PvE. Obsidian Blaze is one of those things that just has a super armor. You use these abilities when your other skills are in cooldown. So the difference between these two, I think this is one of the ones getting buffed in the future. So the difference between these two, I chose Obsidian Blaze honestly only because it has super armor on it. Other than that, I don't use it for damage. Balance Strike versus Slanted Slash. This one has Invincible while using. This one has Forward Guard. Invincibility is better than Forward Guard, and that's why I chose it. That's about it. Okay, so in terms of like priorities of skills you should get as a Dark Knight, let's go down with the main ones first before we go down to anything else. Airstrike is a very strong one. It's more for PvP, I would say, to down and air float enemies. So it's one of the things that's a little bit wonky to use, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good. Slanted Balance is definitely a PvP ability. It is very strong, but it is something I would highly recommend picking up. Enforcement is a very strong ability, especially if you're planning on going the succession route. It does a lot of damage, and if you can combo this into someone, so basically the way I do it in succession, well, succession more than awakening, is you would use your unveiled dagger and basically you poke them with the unveiled dagger, and then so basically you stiffen them, the unveiled, and then you combo that with the enforcement, and that way when you have the enforcement down, hit them. Pretty nice, isn't it? Yeah. To this day, the ultimate enforcement, still am not really sure what this does, but it just does a lot of damage. The ultimate one versus absolute applies enforcement as attack damage. Just get it. Everything else, Wheel of Fortune, very strong ability. Lunacy of Vidir, very strong. Corrupt Ground is one of those things you get at the very last stage in terms of skill points. All you really need is like level 1, but if you can max it, you can max it. Nocturne is a pretty good one to play with. Phantasmal Snare is something they actually added to Succession. The way it works is basically directional key A or D and an F. So you see how that works. Yeah, it's cool. If they're supposed to explode instantly, so timer, yeah. So I think in the future they're gonna start exploding instantly after detonation. Awakening, your E-buff, very good. Priority skills would be obviously your Shattering Darkness, Seed, Spirit Legacy, Deflows, Cluster of Despair, Twilight Dash, and those are the priorities, but all these are also very good. Get them when you can. Spirit Hunt, very good. In terms of the cores, I only see people using Shattering or Seed. Everything else kind of irrelevant, to be honest. If you're using this on stun, then you're doing something wrong. But Super Armor is just the general way to go. Alright, so let me go to town real quick and show you my PvP setup for Awakening. I wish it didn't have a 10-minute timer, otherwise I would happily show you them, but here's the... It did swap, right? Okay. So here is my PvP setup. As you can see, they're a little bit different because I have extra damage to humans on there. And a little bit more in terms of like dots and more tailored towards PvP and stuff. So anyway, so what's the difference? PvP damage. You want to make sure your accuracy is up always, and that's just fighting more evasion players. You definitely want to debuff the enemies and putting a dot on them. I've actually gotten kills off the bleed damage. It's kind of funny, but with everyone having infinite potions these days, I feel like this is less relevant and I should change it out. But I have gotten those rando kills with bleed damage on it before, so basically Spirit Legacy is what I use for dots and debuffing the target, PvE damage on shattering, and then of course making your attacks go faster. Seed of Catastrophe, another boost to your attack speed and debuff to target. I feel like these overlap a little bit, but also at the same time I don't use them all unless I need to. Now I have Twilight Dash because I use Twilight Dash not to charge into like balls of enemy, because you're still gonna die no matter what, but I use it as like something I could go in and get a finisher kill or escape. So let's say someone is attacking you and you have like 20% HP left. You Twilight Dash out of there, you get a DP buff so they can't just like snipe you in the back while you're running. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. And if you're going in for the like final kill when the enemy is at like 2%, it could get you the kill. Trap of a Deer, definitely one of those escape skills. You move it to go backwards and get out of enemies, so your accuracy is going to go up and an evasion rate for the target. So basically, let's say an enemy is the target dummy right here, right? And they're like right in front of you. You would basically go back and then just like use your spammables and all that stuff. So that's why I have that. And then Cluster of Despair is just a good skill for both everything, and then combo it does pretty well. Still same bombs and all that stuff for all of these. Once again, I just chose the same choices for the same reasons, and skills are all the same. And in PvP, mostly, we talked about this, but very situational. I don't really notice too much of a difference. It depends on the kind of person you're fighting in general, what I'd swap it out for. But in terms of which one should you go for, assuming you don't have any of them, honestly, I think the magic AP ones are easier to get, especially if you're going for the infinite potions nowadays. If you don't know where to get them, just look at the item drop. So it'll be somewhere in your item drop list. But basically, where I got mine was... Okay, let's actually go over where I got mine. So, if you're going for the magic accuracy or the melee accuracy, I got mine at Star's End. Star's End is still a very solid spot, especially if you're going disto hunting. No, this is not it. I got my accuracy ones. I actually got one of my accuracy ones at Renaros and then one at Star's End. In terms of the magic AP, I got mine at Moncham's when I was going for my second mana potion. And yeah, it's not that bad. But I think the way to go if you're just looking for general access or artifacts is probably Kartuga. It just has a lot of stuff, so... Yeah, if you're looking for anything relevant, Kartuga is probably the way to go, especially since they buffed it. So, I feel like I covered everything. We covered our gear, crystals, add-ons for both PvP and PvE. Oh. Okay, artifacts, we covered that as well. So, accuracy. This is a hot topic. I actually have no idea how much accuracy is like good enough to beat higher end evasion. However, here's what I do in situations. If I need more accuracy, we use the accuracy accessories, right? And then if I need more accuracy for some reason, we use the Sayer. I don't really use the Sayer too often. It's 99% of the time when I'm PvPing, it's Nuver. So this is where it's at. So Nuver with accuracy artifacts for PvP. PvE, I'll use... I guess like... Depending on where you grind, you could use accuracy. But if you're PvEing, then Magic AP. Magic AP with your Kudum or Blackstar. Generally, PvE accuracy is less relevant the higher you are. So, like, let's say you're level 61 and up. I would like to assume with full Tuvala even, you could grind most spots efficiently. So one thing I always tell people is when people ask me like, hey, what AP or what like gear score, I guess, can I grind a spot? Now, here's the thing. You can grind a lot of spots way below the recommended, but grinding efficiently is more important to me than being able to grind it. So like, let's say you spend an hour at, I don't know, what's a relevant spot? I don't know. Let's take Star's End, for example, because I know people have asked this a lot. It says recommended 260. Yes, you can grind Star's End at like 240. Can you grind it efficiently? Probably not. So generally, when in doubt, just follow the AP recommendation on the area, wherever it tells you. Some of them are a little skewed because, let's say, Crypt of Resting Thoughts is 310. This one is more... It doesn't... I don't know. It's hard to just say. It's for the 1%. If you are in the 1% of grinders, you can grind here. If you aren't, you can't grind here, or you are doing it inefficiently. But realistically, if you're grinding Crypt of Resting Thoughts, you're doing it because you want the Rich Merchant Ring. You're not really making much money here. Yeah, and like Gyfin recommends 300 AP to underground, that is. I think this one is a little bit off because I've seen people with like 280 grind here just fine, but it is one of those things where DP is very important at some of these high-end spots, and at the lower end, it doesn't matter. So, I don't know. It's very specific. And you'll notice, like, if you see a video or a streamer go do something, they're probably doing it efficiently versus being able to do it when you barely have enough AP. So that's one of the differences. So yeah, it's one of those very, like, it's hard to explain. Just go off the recommendation. If you need more accuracy, put on an accuracy artifact. If you need more AP, or just monster damage, do that. But overall, I think we covered everything. Yeah, Bell's Heart. They're actually going to buff this in the future and add more stats the same way you can upgrade your accessories, and then earrings are going to be in the future. So look forward to that one. And I know I have to hit the 301 AP bracket for Awakening. I'm working on it. Each upgrade is like 100 billion silver. It's hard. So anyway, with that said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I might have missed something, but feel free to ask. And with that said, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys later.